2 weeks of the fantasy baseball season are officially in the books. If your team needs a boost, Matt and I are here today to help. So lock on in and stay tuned for today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here with my brother, my co-host, as always, Matthew Ane.
Yo.
You can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. Just search for Locked On Fantasy Baseball, and we'll be there. If you're listening on a platform like Spotify or Apple that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, it goes a long way to help the outreach. If you could do that for us, if you're enjoying the podcast, you're one of our everydayers or, a new listener, and you enjoy what you hear, once again, if you could do that for us, helps a lot. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you hit that little bell down below. It subscribes you to the channel, also gives you a notification every time that we drop a new episode. And also, once again, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to comment and like because we love to talk fantasy baseball with you. Today's episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's number one meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/MLB60 and use the code MLB60 for 60% off plus free shipping. All right, guys. And on today's episode, Matt and I are talking about the best waiver wire pickups for, it coming into week 3 here. We got a lot of good names for you. Maybe not as good as last week, but there's still a lot of serviceable names. I know I got a couple of teams in flux right now. I got one team that's doing pretty good, but no matter where your team is in the standings, you should always be looking to improve your team. And that's why we got a bunch of great names for you today. Matt, who do we got first up on the board?
All right. We got Mr. Domingo German here. You know what? My guy is having a nice little season so far after his first start against Philly. He's a K machine, and that's the biggest part about this, right? So his first start, April 4th, he gave up a whole bunch of runs with a 70 ERA, but had 8 Ks to boot with a 0.86 whip. April 10th, he only did about 3 innings, but only gave up a run, no Ks, but high whip. But here's the big one. This is why we're talking about him, right? On April 15th, which was 2 days ago, Saturday, my guy got the win against Minnesota, 11 Ks, a 1.42 ERA with a 0.47 whip. I mean, German has it in him. He can be a strikeout machine. He can get the job done. He does have games where he gets blown up, but he's definitely worth an add at this point, especially with names like Woodruff going down and other people like that, you're probably hurting on that injury bug and looking for somebody to at least get you some strikeouts to make up for what Woodruff probably did for you. So German is a fantastic replacement.
Yeah, I got the Yankee gear on. I do have a Domingo German jersey. I probably should have threw that one on for this episode, but I still got the Yankee gear on, showing love for our guy Domingo. He's always had, for most of his career, he's always been solid with the control. The whip's always been a sub, 1-2, for at least the last 4 years. And last year specifically, Domingo had a pretty good year. Last year, Domingo went, when Ross record wasn't great, but it was not due to him. He had 2 wins, 5 losses, 3.61 ERA, 14 starts, 72 innings, only 58 Ks. But that 1.16 whip looks great. On his career, Domingo German, 427 innings, 448 Ks. So as Matt mentioned, he's, definitely capable of being a strikeout guy. He's only 15% owned on Yahoo. And I won't, avoid the obvious. There were some talks about, Domingo German had something on his hand. The umps told him to go wash his hands in the dugout between, I think it was like the 3rd inning, 4th inning. And he came back. They had to talk to him again. Rocco Baldelli, Twins manager, got thrown out of the game because he was yelling at the umps that they should have kicked Domingo German out. But you know what? The umps didn't seem to deem that he was doing anything illegal to be kicked out of the game, so he stayed in there, got those 11 Ks. He does go up against Toronto next time, so I'd still throw him out there because he's been pitching pretty good. But, I wouldn't be shocked if he got hit a little bit around in that one. But Domingo German at 15% owned, definitely one of the top waiver wire pitchers to add going into this week. Let's talk about another guy that, just got the promotion. Matt and I were super high on him last year, and that's Brett Baty of the New York Mets. Now, Brett Baty has been down in AAA, just absolutely dominating. His average exit velocity was over 100 miles an hour for the whole time he's been down there. So that's averaging every time he's hit the ball, even a foul ball, anything like that. It's been over 100 miles an hour exit velocity on average, which is absolutely in the upper echelon of all hitters. Brett Baty himself, I'll give you those numbers for down in the minors. It's been 9 games this year down there, 35 at-bats, 9 runs, 2 doubles, 5 homers, 15 RBIs, 2 steals, 7 walks to 9 strikeouts, hitting 400. Brett Baty is the man right now, 53% owned on Yahoo. We thought he was going to get a spot because of his big spring training. Let me see if I have those numbers here. No, I don't have the spring training numbers handy, but they were super, super, super dominant. I personally think Brett Baty is the top waiver wire bat for this, going into week 3 here. Once again, 53% owned on Yahoo, third base eligible. Brett Baty up with the New York Mets. If you can grab him right now, that ownership percentage is going to be flying high. So go for it. Get him now.
Yeah, get him while the iron's hot because, he's about to explode. Let's see what he does. I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring to the New York Mets. But let's move on here. Let's talk about another pitcher here, and that's Jack Flaherty. This isn't lining up with top pitchers, Thomas. But Jack Flaherty, we call him Little Jack. Sometimes is a little inconsistent. His ownership has went up a lot. He's at 64% right now, but those leagues he's still available in. Yeah, it flew up from when we decided to make the show. I think he's still worth an ad, even though he got lit up today against the Arizona Cardinals. He's going to be a spot start until we can see a little bit more from him. He was dealing with that shoulder injury last year. And, I just think that he's going to recover. He's a strikeout machine. I really do love Little Jack. And what's really driving it home for me is last week on the 12th, he was able to go to Colorado, pitch at Colorado in Coors Field, which balls fly out of the park there, and only give up, a run. And do 6 Ks. I think that he has something. He just has to learn on that control with that shoulder still in recovery and learn how to pitch with that. So I would definitely pick up Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, I love Little Jack. It looks to me like he'll wind up being one of the best values of, fantasy draft season because he was going super late, well after pick 200. He was around Kopech and a bunch of those other guys that Matt and I were very, very high. And it looks like Little Jack is going to be the one, that really takes that leap. He was a dominant pitcher before, the shoulder issues. He had a great 2018, a great 2019. Even in 2021, he was solid. And so far in the year, not including today's start at, the Diamondbacks, he's got 1 win, 1 loss, 1.76 ERA across 3 starts, 15 innings. He's got 13 strikeouts. I don't like the 14 walks. It's a lot of walks, and that's why the whip is, as high as it is. But you know what? I think Jack Flaherty is going to, continue to progress. He's only thrown about less than 50 innings, over the past, if you include, let's go back to 2020 to 2022, actually. Let's get you that exact number of how many innings it is. It's like 100-something innings. 154 innings across 3 years. So he still needs to get back to form, figure out what pitches are working for him, and all that kind of stuff. And I think Flaherty will wind up being, let's say like a low to mid 3 ERA. The whip should be a lot better. And he's capable of, being a good strikeout guy. And on that Cardinals team, they're very, very good coaching. So I definitely see Jack Flaherty bouncing back. Once again, 64% owned. He's out there in some leagues, not all of them. So take a look, see if Flaherty's out there. If he is, he's definitely worth the pickup. But guys, real quick, I need to talk about our new sponsor, So Rare. It's a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners. With officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams, it is unlike other fantasy baseball platforms. So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, which includes collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own the cards, and there's no cost to play. So Rare recently partnered with MLB All-Stars Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez to serve as brand ambassadors, and in my opinion, they couldn't have picked two better players because they're absolutely dominant. So throughout the season, the players, all of the ambassadors will engage and be there throughout the season at MLB events. Head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. And guys, those rewards you can win range from jerseys, MLB experiences, trips to events, memorabilia, and lots of other things. So go check out Sorare right now. And real quick, we just want to thank our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to look out for a new episode tomorrow where Matt and I are firing up the worryometer to talk about which players we are worried about. But, Matt, who do we got up next here, brother?
We got Mr. Zach Neto. The new hotness, new prospect getting a promotion. Seems like the Angels are just going to bum rush every prospect they have in their system up just to keep Ohtani on the team. It's not like he doesn't deserve it, though. I mean, yes, his first two outings haven't been impressive with no hits yet. But what I will say...
He did get his first hit. I think it was today he got his first hit.
Okay, that isn't registered here yet. So Neto is a college player that then went into the draft after, so he's a little bit older of a prospect. At the age of 22, he only had 1 year in the minor league system, not including this year, because it's been like 3 weeks. So, quite honestly, in 2022, he had a nice outing for first time seeing, higher level talent, whereas he also goes from A+ to AA. He had 24 runs and 147 at bats, 9 doubles, a triple, 5 bombs, 27 ribbies, 5 stolen bases, and batted .299. This year, the reason why I got the promotion outside of the fact the Angels is bum rushing everybody in 27 at bats, he had 10 runs. He had 12 hits out of that, 1 double, 3 home runs, 10 ribs, 3 stolen bases, 6 walks to 8 strikeouts, batting .444. So, the kid was raking so much they had no choice. He forced his way up. Plus, he had a really good spring. I don't know if anybody was kind of realizing what was going on with him. I don't have those numbers available, but he had a really nice spring, too, where they were talking about him breaking camp. So Neto could be somebody that, really just is one of those guys that's just ready to come up and be a fantasy contributor each day and every day. Let's just go with that. And, be valuable for fantasy. So I would definitely check out Zach Neto. Shortstop is really rough this year. And with all the injuries going down, let me just get his ownership percentage. 12%. So, at 12%, it's a steal. And if you're hurting, you're not sure who to get, and you weren't lucky enough to get Jorge Mateo, you might want to take a look at Neto because he's going to have some serious value for you.
Yeah, I like Zach Neto. I'm not as super high on him as others might be. Maybe it's only the 44 games in the minors, and that he's young, and we haven't seen him against upper echelon competition. He didn't even touch AAA. They just took him right from AA, and they said, as Matt said, the Angels just love bum rushing their prospects and getting them out there. And so far, he's 1 for 13, including today. So he's off to a little bit of a tough start. But you know what? Julio and Bobby Witt started off the year super rough last year, too, as rookies. So, he might be able to bounce back. I think right now, unless it's like a 15er or an NL only or, a type of situation like that, where, or AL only, sorry about that. I might grab him in those leagues, but otherwise I think it's a wait and see type situation. If you're talking about, 12 mans, only no corner infields or anything like that. I might wait and see, just throw him on the watch list right now, see what happens. If he gets, that breakout game, grab him, because I don't think that ownership percentage is going to fly up anytime soon. But Zach Neto, Matt mentioned he's been great in the minor league so far, so there is a chance that he, translates to the big leagues. But I think it's kind of a little bit more of a wait and see situation, at least according to me. So let's move on to next guy here, and that's Geraldo Perdomo. Mr. Perdomo, somebody that we gave a little brief, explanation upon the other day. We didn't really get into him too in depth, so Matt and I decided, he's he's still hitting pretty decently. So let's give him the shout out here. Full breakdown of Perdomo here on the podcast. So on Yahoo, he's third base, shortstop eligible, only 27% owned. Numbers on the year aren't super sexy, but they're useful. 8 runs, a home run, 8 RBIs, a steal. He's hitting 400. The thing is, he doesn't seem like Perdomo's playing every single day. He's got a couple of days off here. So once again, if it's one of your only leagues or a deeper 15-man, or you're just hurting at shortstop, as Matt mentioned, Seager's gone down, a lot of injuries at the shortstop position, and just a lot of guys underperforming at the shortstop position, and you want to get some production out. Mr. Perdomo's out there, and a lot of leagues. Once again, 27% owned for Geraldo Perdomo. I think he's definitely worth the look. That Diamondbacks team is playing decently so far. Got Corbin Carroll looking like a superstar over there. McCarthy's proven a lot of people wrong. They got a few decent bats in that lineup. So you know what, Perdomo's worth the shot. Got a little speed there too. 9 steals last year.
Yeah, I mean, Perdomo is an interesting one because if he does earn himself everyday playing time, you're going to have a guy that has short and third base eligibility. So let's see what happens there. I can't say whether he's going to beat out either players out for the job, but we'll see. Let's move on here to Mr. Brayan Bello. Wow, just another pitcher. You really lined this up bad. Bello seems to be having a rough time. Yeah. Bella's having a rough time coming up in the MLB when he comes to the bigs because he got lit up today, unfortunately. But I still think there's a lot of room for upside, and the reason why we're bringing him up. Yeah, and last year, I mean, he had a 4.71 ERA with 57 innings pitched, but and 55 strikeouts. Now there was some moments of genius last year where he did look like, oh my God, this is the guy we saw in the minors, but then he would flop. So he's like a hit or miss. This is one of my low priorities, but if you need a pitch start this week, you might be able to get a second start this week since it's only Monday when we're recording. Now, this is what we're really talking about. Let's talk about his 2022 season when he was down in the minors because this is really impressive, right? In 96 innings pitched, he had 129 strikeouts. He had a 2.34 ERA and a 1.04 WHIP. Now, this is what we're talking about, like that upside of what he can kind of translate to and be if he actually hits. I'm a little bit more conservative with him. If he gets a second start this weekend, and I kind of want like a pitch and ditch stream kind of situation with a little bit of upside to maybe carry over into the next week, I might add Bello. But he's definitely a name you at least have to watch to see, okay, if his next start is nice, and we're seeing that 2022 minor league career, we might want to scoop him up and raise him up in our our watch list, or let's just add him. So Brayan Bello.
Yeah. I think it is Bello, but I'm not sure, man. I do have to look into it. I'm not 100%. I watched some of the game today. I think they were saying Bello. I'm not 100%.
It is
sure,
Bello, actually. I just saw it on Baseball Reference.
Okay, yeah. So he's
my bad, guys.
He's 21% owned on Yahoo. And I do want to point this out. So over his last 8 starts from last year, it was 9 games. I think one game he came out of the bullpen. He had 41 innings pitched, 42 strikeouts, and a 3.07 ERA with a 2.55 FIP. So once again, FIP is a fielding independent pitching. It's an ERA indicator. Kind of gives you an idea of where their ERA should be if everything went according to fielding and all that fun stuff. So he did adjust after, he was getting rocked in his first couple of starts. He did adjust back to, the competition. This year, he's off to another rough start. He went out there against the Angels today. I did watch some of the game. They were spanking him around. Renfroe hit a bomb off him, and he just didn't look super sharp. But I will throw out a caveat though. The reason I didn't put this other guy on here is because he's pitching as you're listening to this day. But if you could pick a guy up and he could play for you that day, Taj Bradley's coming back up. I do just want to mention him real quick. Coming back up for Tampa Bay. Jeffrey Springs is out, and Taj Bradley draws that start against the Cincinnati Reds. As you're listening to it today, I think Taj Bradley at 33% owned. I'd take him over Bello. Just didn't throw him in the podcast fully because we did talk about him last week, and you're probably not going to be able to pick him up for the start today as you're listening to this. But Bello is pretty solid. Bradley's a little bit better. 2 young, up and coming pitchers in the MLB. But let's move on to our next guy, and that is Mr. Gio Urshela, the former New York Yankee. And Mr. Gio Urshela is out there, doing his little thing right now. He's third base, shortstop eligible, 26% owned on Yahoo, 9 runs, a home run, 8 RBIs, a steal, 346 batting average. And you know what? Looks like he's been hitting, 5th, 6th in that lineup recently for the Angels, which is a pretty solid lineup. He's got a couple of 3-hit games, couple of 2-hit games. He's looking pretty solid. And Gio could always hit, even when he was with the Yankees. He was always able to swing that bat, put up a pretty solid batting average, and and just able to do his thing pretty consistently. I'm a big Gio Urshela fan. Once again, 26% owned on Yahoo, third base and shortstop eligible, as we mentioned a few times. Shortstop is pretty hard right now, so I think Gio's worth a shot.
Yep, and I think that now we should move on to Mr. J.D. Davis. Great take on Urshela. I couldn't add anything else. J.D. Davis, first and third eligibility, 41% owned, and he's doing all right. I mean, last week was a pretty nice week. He had 2 runs, 2 bombs, 7 ribs, batting .333. On the season, he's hitting about .341. He's got 13 ribs in total and 4 home runs and 7 runs. I think that right now, with third being what it is, if you missed out on top end talent, or you just need a backup third base or a corner infielder, he's probably your guy you want to add. 41% owned is too low for how he's performing right now. He's a ride the wave kind of type thing and see how he plays out. If he keeps on this pace, boom, you're happy. You could keep him. If not, when he starts teetering off, see you later. So J.D. Davis is definitely worth an ad for me right now.
Yeah, J.D. Davis, 41% owned on Yahoo. He's been playing pretty solid, so far. Former Mets great. He had a great 2019 and 2021 back there with the Mets, and especially that 2019 where he had played 140 games, 410 at-bats, 22 doubles, 22 bombs, 57 RBIs, 3 steals, and he hit 307. Don't think he's going to hit 307 again, but you know what? Over his career, which is 7 years, J.D. Davis is a career 268 hitter. There is pop in that bat. He's not going to steal you really any bases. That Giants team isn't fantastic, so he's not going to blow you away in the counting stats. But as Matt said, kind of juice the orange with J.D. Davis. If you're not familiar with the juice the orange term, that just means get as much out of him as you can until you start struggling, drop him, and move on to the next guy. So J.D. Davis could definitely be helpful right now. But let's move on to our next guy. And this is another young starting pitcher here, and that's Johan Oviedo. And I'll spell that for you guys just in case you're not familiar. It's Oviedo. Now, Oviedo, the thing with him is we always talk about, is there a change? Are they doing something different? Is the velocity up? And that's the case here with the young Oviedo. Oviedo's velocity is up a couple of ticks on most of his pitches, and he's gone out there and he's playing pretty well. So far in the year, Mr. Oviedo has a 18 innings pitched. He's got a win, 19 Ks, 2.45 ERA, and the whip is a little high at a 1.20, but he's only 25% owned. And right now, with the way that pitching is, anybody that's pitching good is useful because, a lot of the studs that we predicted to be great aren't great right now. And to be honest with you, I'm not super familiar with Mr. Oviedo that much. I know about him a little bit from last year. He's 6'5". He's a big body. He's got that man body at age 25 here. He's breaking out a little bit. And he was actually pretty decent last year, too, it looks like. Last year, Oviedo, 3.21 ERA, 21 games. 8 of those were starts, 56 innings, 54 Ks. That whip looks like that's his downside. He had a 1.28 whip last year. And let's check out those minor league statistics, which aren't blowing me away either. But you know what I said? That velocity's up. He's made a change. He's looking a little different, like a changed man. Probably not my number one waiver wire priority for this week. But you know what? You could probably do worse than Oviedo. And let's see, who's that next star coming up again? Maybe he's got a good one. He's at Coors Field. So he's at Coors Field. Maybe it's a wait and see how things go. I don't know if I'm throwing him out there at Coors. But you know what? The kid's pitching pretty good. At least throw him on your watch list and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to pick him up. You could pick him up like Sunday, for instance, and then he'll be on your roster from Monday to see if you like to start that week. And if he pitches good in Colorado, you definitely want to scoop him up. So definitely keep an eye out for him. So let's move on here. Great take on him. Let's talk about our last guy here, and that's Mr. Wade Miley. Former Cubs pitcher, now on Milwaukee Brewers. I like the team better. He's having a bunch of nice outings so far on the season. He has, let me see here. Sheesh. He has 2 wins, 14 Ks, a 1.50 ERA, and a .94 whip. He's killing it. last week in 2 starts he had that. He's killing it. I really do like it. He's pitched 8 Ks against San Diego with the win, gave up no runs. Arizona hit him around a little bit with 5.4 ERA. But then he went out against the Mets, another good team, and didn't give up a run. So I think Wade Miley on the Brewers is very valuable this year. He's not a K per 9 guy, but he is a good ERA guy. Over the last 3 years, he's had, a 2021 to 337, 2022 at 316, even though last year he only had 37 innings because he was coming off the injury. But still, he still is able to keep good numbers, keep the ERA down, and produce. In some games he has, like where he did against San Diego, where he's able to strike a whole bunch of people out. Wade Miley is definitely a nice start this week. He should be pitching against Boston, it looks like, as we go into the weekend. So we'll see what happens. I do like Wade Miley this week, especially against Boston.
Yeah, if you guys hung around and made it to this point in the podcast, you come out with a gem, because I think Wade Miley is right up there with Jack Flaherty and Taj Bradley as my top pitching pickups for this week. And I'm feeling old. I remember when Wade Miley came up with the Diamondbacks back in the day, and he had those his first 2 full years were absolutely dominant. I had him in fantasy a couple of those years, and he paid off. As Matt mentioned, not really a K per 9 guy, always been at least decent in ERA for the most part. And, the whip is all right, so he's not going to really kill you there. And, the Brewers have been pretty good. He's going to win you some games and stuff like that. He does get that Boston start going into, the weekend. 20% owned on Yahoo. Numbers look great. I really like what Wade Miley's been doing. And, definitely worth the pickup. But, Matt, anything else you want to add? Anything you want to say? Any last-minute guys you want to throw in here?
No, I think we're good.
All right, brother. So you guys, you know what? That's all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Check out the website if you already have it. A lot of information about us, access to all the episodes there. Matt and I are going to be trying, hopefully, to write some columns sooner than later on there. And just thank you for all of our everydayers and all of our new listeners for making us your first listen each and every day. Once again, stay tuned for a new episode tomorrow. Matt and I are firing up that Wario meter, which is always fun to do. We always get some great comments on that one, and we have fun doing it. So look out for that. But guys, until then, see you.
Peace.